I'd like to call the regular council meeting of February the 28th to order. We are honored to gather on the unceded traditional territory of the Comox First Nations. And I would like to add, to the people of Ukraine, our thoughts are with you. To everyone involved in this conflict, we hope for a quick resolution. It is very difficult to watch the updates on television. It affects everyone. So, approval of the agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor? Carried. Minutes?
Move the minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Carried. And I'd like adoption of the committee minutes, but I have something I'd like to say after the motion is made.
Move adoption.
What I'd like to say is in the report, the committee has put a summary of activities, and I think that's very important for council to review because they're asking for a number of items. So I'd like to ask that that we make another motion forwarding this on to staff to come back to council so we can have a discussion on this.
The Heritage Committee?
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Carried. And sorry, we have to, that's involved in the motion, so we have to approve the committee minutes.
I think we did them separately, didn't we?
Okay. Yeah. Next, delegation. That council received the delegation from Marita Patro, Coordinator, Comox Valley Policy Council, and Kimberly Tunders, Public Health Dietitian, Island Health.
Move receipt. Second.
All in favor? Carried.
So good evening, Mayor and Council. It's really lovely to be here in person. It's been a long time, so it's wonderful to be here. And I have Kim is actually, well, I'll introduce myself first. As I've already been introduced, but Marita Prado, and I'm wearing the hat of the coordinator of the Comox Valley Food Policy Council today, and just recognizing that I am live and work on the unceded traditional territory of the Comox First Nation. And so with me in spirit and virtually is Kim Tunders, and I'll let Kim introduce herself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Kim Tunders, and I'm a public health dietitian with Island Health, and I'm also a member of the Comox Valley Food Policy Council, and I'm joining from the traditional unceded territories of the Liquitok people, and specifically the Wiiwikai and Wiiwikam in Campbell River.
And Kim, I've just forwarded it to the next slide. Over to you.
Great. So an outline tonight of what we're going to be speaking about is we're just going to give an overview of what is the Comox Valley Food Policy Council. We want to discuss our priority areas and highlight some successes, and then talk a bit about the roles of municipalities and action possibilities, levers for food policy councils around food policy, for municipalities. Opportunities for collaboration, and then also would really happy to receive questions.
Thanks, Kim. So food policy councils in general work towards ideas and policy recommendations for how our local food systems can be improved. And I wanted to also just make a distinction between Lush Valley and the Food Policy Council. So Lush is currently the fiscal host and coordinator. So we coordinate the services. We provide support and capacity and in-kind resources to the Food Policy Council. But the council itself, the members are meant to be really collaborative, and the members are different key players from across the food systems and local government. So similar, to something like Transition Society, where there's the fiscal host, they're the fiscal host for the Coalition to End Homelessness, for example, that has many different members. It's considered what we've chosen as a structure is a hybrid structure. So that is a model that mixes civil society and government, and we chose this specifically to allow for a good balance of autonomy as well as connection to local government. So in order to be as effective as we can and hold some legitimacy and speed and efficiency of creating policy. And we've had a lot of luck with this model, and also had other regions come to us and say, okay, this seems to be a good model. Tell us a little bit about how you became a food policy council. So over to you, Kim.
Great, thanks, Marita. So we just want to discuss a little bit. So the Comox Food Policy Council is its own entity. It's not a committee of the CVRD. A key role is providing input. So we provide input to all 3 municipal local governments, as well as Indigenous governments and staff. And we consider any matters which may be referred to us by local government, so really open to consultation, requests for feedback, even requests to look into research and what other areas have done around certain issues. And we may take positions on policy initiatives from other levels of government, so also provincial, federal government. And examples of this would be working with the Coalition for School Food and really working towards supporting a universal school food program nationwide.
Thanks, Kim. So our approach is a systems change approach, and we are trying to think like systems. So at the core, systems thinking requires a shift in mindset from linear thinking to embracing complexity and interconnectedness. So systems change requires working across organizational boundaries and scales. And we're trying to keep our work in that sort of, you see the outer ring, so sort of the second and third order outcomes. So we're affecting policy and culture shifts around food and food systems. So you could think about it as, you know, if you're playing a game of soccer, we're not just trying to play a really good game, but we want to change the rules to make it more fun and more inclusive, for example. I don't know if that example works for you, but systems change is often hard to explain, so hopefully that's helpful. Next slide, Kim.
So this goes over the vision and the mission. So the vision is really around a thriving local food system. So around celebrating farmers, local food growers, harvesters, key points of reconciliation, ecological sustainability, and climate change mitigation. And then really looking at overall community food security and access to healthy, culturally appropriate food. And also we have the piece of food systems education, because we really think the education is a cornerstone to moving towards policy. And so how do we achieve our mission? By supporting and working with decision makers and community members to implement policy and practices. So again, really looking at that implementation of policy level.
And just quickly, we have a lens that we work with. It's actually very similar to the CVRD strategic drivers, but these are the things that we're thinking about, or the context we're thinking about when we propose policy or action. Does it contribute to food access and equality, climate change mitigation, reconciliation, and is it working on a systems level? Next slide, over to you, Kim.
So ongoing priorities, these are kind of overarching priorities that we've been looking at as supporting, or that we have been doing, is supporting a regional agricultural area and food security plan process. So really supporting official community plans, the regional growth strategy, and other municipal and regional planning processes, and then also acting as an advisory board for local government and others.
And so each year, as well as our ongoing priorities, we get together once a year and we think about what our strategic actions are for the next year. So these are the ones that we had focused on for the last year. We'll be getting together in March, and we'll be looking and thinking, are we still aligned with these priorities, or do we need to shift a little bit? But this last year, we thought about local food aggregation and distribution. So thinking about the food hub and food procurement policies. We focus on healthy school access and food systems education and food access and poverty policy. Over to you, Kim. Next slide.
So our current priority is just to highlight too that we have subcommittee groups that really look towards prioritizing specific areas and actioning the work. And so those are focused on disruptions in the food supply, emergency preparedness, climate change, and water. So already looking at increased relevance and how much those have come to the forefront with disruptions in food supply chains due to COVID, as well as climate emergencies.
So just this next slide is some examples of our work or successes. And again, we're always doing this work in collaboration. So it's almost hard as an advocacy group to say that was our success. But we're definitely, you can read through the list there, but I'll just highlight a few examples. So the COVID-19 response, I think having the Food Policy Council in place and having key relationships prior to COVID-19 sort of hitting our communities meant that we were able to quickly leverage resources and collaborate to host emergency food programs. Briefing documents were also shared during that time to all levels of government and our EOC body. And that was to provide more information about food system disruptions and the programs that were in place in our communities. We can also do things like move policy sort of quote unquote up the food chain. So policy from the Food Policy Council around the province and having more of a food security component to emergency planning moved from the Food Policy Council to the CVRD, up to the UBCM and to the province. As well, there was another policy, as many of you know, around farmers markets as essential services. As you also know, Coalition for Healthy School Food, Kim's talked about that, but we were able to send letters out to all local governments, and all local governments endorsed the Healthy School Food program. So things like that really help to highlight our region as a leader across the country in those types of initiatives. We hosted the environmental health officer each year in the pandemic to provide info sessions for school food coordinators, people that were coordinating school food programs, so that they would know how they could continue to run those programs safely through the pandemic. And we advocate for urban ag policy and food charters in all municipalities and support the OCP. So example, lately with the City of Courtenay OCP just continually providing feedback into that process. And in February, for example, on an educational note, we hosted the February dialogues, we called them. So 2 dialogues on food systems, emergency planning, and climate change. So those are some of the things that we've been doing over the last couple of years. Over to you, Kim.
Great, thanks, Marina. So just reiterating again here that the Comox Valley Food Policy Council's role is to act as an advisory council, and really happy to bring forward and advise on issues and our planning processes related to food systems. And also want to highlight that we welcome requests for engagement and want to be recognized and recruited as an advisory by our local governments. And we do have additional opportunity for participation from elected officials and municipal staff. So really helpful to our structure that we currently have municipal involvement, but have additional opportunities for involvement from elected officials and municipal staff. And over to you, Marita.
Thanks, Kim. So yeah, in terms of the village, we really recognize that the village has been a leader in urban agriculture policy across the Comox Valley. Definitely you're the first we know to support urban hens, bees, and yard gate sales. So we asked the question, or we posed the question to you, how can the village continue to show leadership in food systems work and food systems policy? So it could be, for example, egg cells or internal policies such as local food procurement for the town, or tying, targets of local food procurement to various local businesses, for example. We'd like to continue to provide resources and opportunities for you. So just like the Coalition for Healthy School Food or the Food Charter, we just want to put opportunities in front of you that are quick wins, easy ways for you to advocate for our local food system. If and when your OCP comes up for review, we'd love to be a part of that process and advocate for things like access to growing space for residents. So as densification occurs, how do we make sure that people have space to continue to grow food? And I think from a climate and emergency planning lens, there's always just these continued opportunities to work together to build resilient local food systems. And we recognize that, Cumberland also will work underneath the banner of the CVRD with the regional growth strategy to see some of that work happening, but there's work to be done municipally as well. So there's lots of opportunities. I guess the other thing is we're just part of this really great network across across North America and across BC of people that are doing this work. So the additional resources that were part of the package, there's a page there, and that comes from the Central Kootenay Food Security Action Plan. So that research was done post-COVID, and it just indicates to municipalities where there's opportunities, because food systems are complex. They don't just fit in the food systems ministry or whatever. So because they're complex, it's that resource is to kind of help break down, well, where can municipalities have influence or leverage around food systems. So we also just want to be seen as a resource for you as you're figuring that out. And we won't always have the answers, but we have the passion to look into it and work with you. So yeah, just back over to you, Kim.
Great, thanks, Marita. Yeah, so as Marita said, our last few slides, they discussed potential roles of municipalities, levers for action around food policy. But kind of our closing questions, our question is around how can the Comox Valley Food Policy Council support the town of Cumberland in upcoming policy and planning initiatives? And just want to highlight that you can help by providing input into our action planning session that's coming up in March.
And I think we'll leave it there. I haven't been watching the time. We have a few other slides, but they're basically a breakdown of the handout that you have in front of you. So we can take time for questions or to go over that if you would like. Thank you.
Yes. We'll go around the table to see if there's any questions.
Great.
Councillor Kettler.
Okay, thanks, Marita and Kim. Nice presentation, and yeah, thank you for all the work you're doing. And Food Policy Council is something quite critical for the Valley. It does involve so many things, and I think that they're multi-jurisdictional, so it's nice to have a central group that is looking at all of those things. One of the things that we're quite concerned about, of course, as municipal government is water, and I think there'll be a lot more of discussions about water and water use going into the future, and it's good to have your guys' perspective on that. So that's one way I see you contributing to policy for us. And of course, you guys mentioned our OCP that we'll be looking at in the next couple of years. So that, again, will be a huge piece of the puzzle for us. And yeah, just so many things underneath food, you know, the distribution and the disruptions that we're seeing with that, labor shortages, like I talked about water and climate change, so many things that really need that systems thinking, that broad holistic look at things. So I really appreciate that you guys are doing that hard work and that we get to reap the benefit of that. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Jessie.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you so much, Marita. That was great. And Kim, oh, hi. There you are. Nice to have you both. I, as you all know, am the rep for Cumberland on the Food Policy Council. And just to sort of reiterate the knowledge and skill that sits around that table. I think the way we came together right before the pandemic was timely, and the combination of skills and talents and interests and expertise in that group is quite fulsome, and so yeah, it would be great to use that expertise more broadly. I think there was a lot of input to the Courtenay OCP and the Comox chicken and greenhouse conversation, and I think that was really helpful. I know you mentioned the egg sales. Here we managed to do chickens, but we didn't quite get to the point of allowing the sale of eggs, so hopefully we'll do that with the OCP update. And also just a shout out to the Grow Food Everywhere page. We really noticed in Cumberland, it struck me when we did the parade, the drive around parade in the first year of the pandemic, how many people were growing food in their front yards for the first time. And God knows how many people were already growing food in their backyards. So I think part of the reason Cumberland leads in food security policy is because we don't have any agricultural land really within our borders, and so we're dependent on creating that food security ourselves. And yeah, and I just that Grow Food Everywhere page is really quite valuable. It's a Facebook page if you're on Facebook. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it
for
was
all
within
you do.
48 hours there was 2,000 followers.
Yeah.
Like it was.
And
yeah,
you can
it's
ask
quite,
anything and somebody knows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really great resource.
It's
People
awesome.
use it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you.
Councillor Sproul? Move your microphone closer.
Get this right here. Yeah, it's just that this is of important food security, given that things are changing every day and getting more and more expensive, and it's a matter of supply and so many things. To see what the Comox Valley is doing is quite remarkable, small place like this. So I'm proud of Cumberland that we are able to step up to the plate and start producing food and wherever possible. It's a bit like the victory gardens of the Second World War, everybody pulling together to feed people. Anyway, thank you very much for your
Councillor Sullivan?
Yeah, thanks for your presentation, you guys. It's really good to see just the intricacies of what you guys are doing and how you span the whole valley, and especially with the disruptions in supply recently with the Coquihalla crashing out. And I mean, we probably have more of that kind of stuff to look forward to. So really honing in on getting together on the food policy like you guys are doing is super important. Yeah, our OCP is in 2023, so definitely be nice to have you guys at the table. And it's always nice to get a poke for the community gardens that we don't have. So that's a nice reminder. That's something more that we need to work on. So yeah, thanks for your presentation, you guys.
Thank you very much, ladies, for your presentation. It's very informative, and I'm glad you're here to present it. I'm absolutely sure you'd be welcome at the OCP and have input into it. You have the skills and expertise to help us in that direction, and I'm sure you'll provide valuable information for us. I noticed on one of the slides it said become a member. What do you do to become a member?
That's a really good question. So we're just revising our terms of reference right now. So we're really opening it up. So if you want to become a member, you can email me. And I should have actually put my email address, but it's the same one I use for Lush Valley. So it's just marita@lushvalley.org for more information. And we're going to be doing more recruiting. So you just go through sort of a process of, filling in an application about, why you want to be a part of the council, and then we would have onboarding. So it's really that simple. Our original terms of reference was a little more stiff, and what we've decided is there's only, unfortunately, so many people that really geek out about food policy in the world. So we've sort of opened that up. And so anyone that is interested can become a member. The other option is just coming to a meeting to kind of check out what we do and what we talk about. Or if you have a specific issue, like I think the advisory piece, we're kind of trying to figure out, I don't know if there's a formal structure to become an advisory body, but basically the idea is when there's questions about things that you'd like to do that are food related, you can also just sort of submit those to the council, and then we can look into those things for you. So we can provide that sort of additional capacity as well.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
very good. Thank you very much for your presentation. Next.
Hi, Cam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have that committee receive the delegation Twyla Skinner, General Manager of the Comox Valley Farmers Market.
We receive.
Second.
All in favor? Carried.
Hi. Thank you very much. Most of you probably have heard of or know about the farmers market, but I wanted to take this opportunity to provide a little bit more information as well as some detail about our Cumberland market. So we've been growing, making, baking, raising, and wild harvesting fresh, local, and nutritionally dense food in the Comox Valley since 1992. We'll be 30 years. It's hard to believe we'll be 30 years old in May. Our mandate has been and always will continue to be to promote the economic health of the local farm and food community and to educate, promote, and support local agriculture. Although we do have a large catchment area, the Comox Valley Regional District and the Strathcona Regional District, when we look at where our vendors come from, 90% of our vendors come within a 20-kilometer radius of the CV exhibition grounds. So when you talk about the 100-mile diet, we kind of blow that out of the water by having most of our vendors within a very small radius of the CV exhibition grounds. And you can see on there that Cumberland has about makes up 5% of our vendors. We are a food-only farmers market. We emphasize farmers and fishers first. We do have a couple of soap and body care products as well as value-added agricultural products, but we have farmer first. So what we are, a food-only farmer first farmers market. We aim to have about 60% farmers at all times, but it does vary in shoulder seasons and as things go on. Sometimes we have, particularly in the winter markets, we may have more processors than we do farmers. But, you know, we live in the Comox Valley and we are getting farmers year-round, so that's great to see. We currently operate 3 markets, one on Saturday that's year-round, one here on Sunday in Cumberland, and then on Wednesdays we have the downtown Courtenay Market. And the downtown Courtenay Market is the one that we collaborate with the DCBIA, Comox Valley Arts, and ourselves to form the downtown Courtenay Summer Street Market. We've had to change that a little bit because of COVID, but we're hoping now this year we'll be able to get back up to what we were and have it more of a kind of a street party event type of thing. One of the other things I wanted to touch base is what are the economic benefits of the farmers market to the Comox Valley. There are lots of benefits of having a farmers market, but I wanted to touch base on what the economic benefits are. And it's hard because over the last couple of years with COVID, things have changed a little bit. We've had less customers, but one of the things that we have noticed that despite the decrease in customers, our sales have, for the most part, remained strong. Since 2014, we've been keeping track of vendor gross sales. So these gross sales are direct sales from a vendor to a customer. And as you can see, from about 2018, we've started to increase our gross sales. And this is an aggregate of all of our markets. So it includes the Sunday market, includes all of our Saturday markets, includes the Thursday market when we had Thursday markets, and it also includes our Wednesday market. 2019 was our best year. We had almost $1.9 million in direct sales. But this is only just a snapshot of what the economic benefit is to the Comox Valley. We have to take a look at other factors as well, including indirect sales. So an indirect sale would be a baker buying eggs for their baking from the farmer. And this would usually happen outside of the market, and then those baking products would go to the market. You would also include things like seed, feed, and other ingredients that are purchased here in the Comox Valley. We also employ 1 full-time staff. We're hoping to have 1 regular part-time staff as well as seasonal staff. So when you take a look at all of these factors, and depending on which paper you look at, and you use a multiplier of anywhere from 1.21 all the way up to 3, you can get an idea of the economic benefit of our market. So for the purpose of this exercise, I used a multiplier of 1.5, and I also did a comparison with a multiplier of 2. 2 being kind of the most commonly one for convenience because it's just easy to double it. So when you look at that, on average, each year over the last several years, we've been contributing and keeping back within the Comox Valley $3 million. So that's not an insignificant number. So that's kind of a representative of what the economic impact is of our market to the Comox Valley. We've also been working with Lush Valley on their farm gleaning program since 2018. And the purpose of this program is to increase the impact of local growers by supporting members of our community who lack access to fresh, local, healthy food while promoting local food production and reducing waste. So approximately 4,000 pounds of fresh fruits and vegetables has been diverted from being composted or thrown out. It's been redistributed to over 15 social service agencies here in the Comox Valley. So the Cumberland Farmers Market. So this market has started in 2016 as a result of customers and farmers perspective to increase access to fresh, locally grown food. Since 2016, it's been growing. We've had a lot of success. In 2019, we became, the Cumberland Market specifically won the BC Association of Farmers Markets Farmers Market of the Year Small Market. And in 2020, due to increase in customer and vendors' demand, we extended the season by 2 more weeks. So we now go from mid-June all the way to mid-September. And this is a slide relating to just some of the specifics with gross sales data to the Sunday market. So as you can see, from 2016 to 2019, we stayed pretty stable. It didn't change too much. But in 2020 and 2021, it has jumped significantly. And we see that when we're at the market on Sundays. We can see all the action happening in downtown Cumberland on Sundays. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of people down there. So we can really see it reflecting in our gross sales data. So again, that gross sales data is just what the customers are buying directly from the vendors. We've also, through this particular market, we've been operating a coupon program similar to the one that we run at the Saturday market. In this particular program, we are partnered with the Cumberland Community School Society and through various other private and public funders to run a nutrition coupon program. And this program provides Cumberland residents who qualify it, who are low-income families, $20 a week to purchase whole foods. So by whole foods, we mean meat, poultry, fish, seafood, vegetables, fruits, nuts, eggs, and cut herbs. And this slide just gives an idea of what has happened over the last 6 years. So approximately $27,000 in coupons have been redeemed over the last 6 years. So that means that $27,000 has gone to food to help the people in the village of Cumberland. It's come from various funders, including nearly $10,000 from the village of Cumberland. We have participants that have been coming to the program since we started in 2016 and continue to this day. So we have over 50 households, which represent over 154 participants. That's children, adults, and seniors. So this is a very important program, and it has been amplified by the effects of COVID-19. We've also realized that there have been a bunch of barriers associated with this program for the residents. So we have barriers such as COVID-19, health issues, lack of transportation, anxiety, lack of childcare, and work, just to name a few, that have prevented participants from accessing this program. We want to make sure that everyone who needs this program has the ability to access this program. So we worked with CCSS last year to try and figure out a way to help make it more accessible. So they do the Healthy Food Box program that goes out every 2 weeks. So we were able to purchase additional food that went into these boxes. So even though participants could not come to the market themselves, they were still able to get product from the farmers market through the coupon program in their Healthy Food Box program, or Healthy Food Box. Because the Healthy Food Box comes out every 2 weeks, so the purpose of the coupon program was to help bridge the gap between those boxes as well. So what do we have happening for 2022? We're really excited about 2022. The Cumberland market has been growing significantly. We have lots more vendors. We have vendors that are, we're taking up more space because of food trucks, because of trailers. We need to have mechanical refrigeration, a bunch of other things like that. So we need a little bit of additional space. We also have over 9,000 customers. Over the last couple of years, we've been keeping track of the number of customers that come to the market each week. It started out about 200 customers or so over the 3 to 4 hour period. I think it started at 4 hours in 2016, and then we changed it to 3 hours after that. But we've grown to almost 1,000 customers over 3 hours. So that's a significant amount of customers. With the pandemic, we've realized we have to be very aware of space issues. So we wanted to have things like customer seating, kids' activity tables, and musicians. But if we have all of that, we run out of space. We need to be able to give our customers a little bit more space to walk around. With the addition of the tent and the picnic table to the village square, we've also had a little bit of more limitation with space available for vendors. And through our enrollment right now, we have additional vendors that want to attend the Sunday market. They are really happy. We've got lots of vendors that want to attend, so I'm looking forward to 2022. Knowing that we were kind of outgrowing Village Square, we talked to the CBA, village staff, and council in November of 2021 to see if we can come up with some ideas on how we can make this work. We all agreed that staying in the downtown core was beneficial for everybody. We looked at possibilities of trying to join forces with an artisan group to kind of create something similar that we do to the downtown Courtenay Summer Street Market. We have artisans that would run parallel to the farmers market. We have some musicians and kind of create like a little bit of an event type of thing, a place for people to come on Sundays. We're still working out the details, but that's something that we're working on. So this is just a map of the area. We're in the village square in the bottom there, and we've looked at, in talking with staff, the possibilities of potentially closing off a portion of Dunsmuir between 3rd and 4th, or all of Dunsmuir, depending on how it all works as far as being able to get the craft market. Now, this is the first year that we're doing it, so there's maybe potential that while we test the waters, maybe the craft portion of it only happens once a month, or we have it just a couple times during our market season. So we're still working out a little bit of the details, but we really feel that staying in Village Square and on Dunsmuir is kind of where we need to be to make everything work. And we're looking forward to working with the village, as well as the downtown businesses, to make sure that we can do whatever we can do to keep the downtown vibrant. That kind of wraps up what we're looking for 2022, and I open it up to any questions.
Councillor Brown, we can start with you this time.
Okay, we have all the food people today. It's so great to have you. Thank you so much for coming. As you all know, the farmers market is close to my heart, and I wanted to follow up on one of the economic impacts that you spoke to. The sale of good quality, healthy food in the village is one thing. Providing $27,000 worth of food to vulnerable families is another thing. But the other thing is the impact that the farmers market has had on our downtown core since its inception. So when the farmers market first started, none of the businesses on the downtown in the downtown core were open on Sunday. And with the market arriving in Village Square, those businesses were incentivized by the market manager at the time to open and participate as much as they could. And I think that has built quite a vibrant, well, I know it's built quite a vibrant Sunday core in there. This past year was quite something. To try and even walk down the sidewalk was a challenge. So that kind of, we saw in an earlier presentation at our committee of the whole that Cumberland is this vibrant, I can't remember the exact wording, but, vibrates with energy. And I think the farmers market is a big part of that. So thank you so much for keeping it up and for keeping that coupon program going as well, especially through COVID. It's so important to our residents who can't get food supports elsewhere and can't get to the Saturday market or the Wednesday market in other locations. That's, I think, all I don't really have any questions.
Thanks.
Councillor Spruill? Councillor Sullivan?
Yeah, thanks, Joanna. Well, that's like the good news report that just keeps getting better. That's rare around this sometimes. Yeah, that's a lot of great info. I didn't know about the 2019. Congrats. That's pretty cool. I'm super in support of closing the street for just about anything. So I think you kind of really like that idea once a month with the craft to start it out. I think that's a great idea. Every Sunday, I mean, it's only a win that people are like now every week, I think. So yeah, and just the program with the coupons, just getting farm to table for vulnerable families in our community is just fantastic. So yeah, thanks for all the work.
Welcome.
Councillor Kettler?
Yeah, I know that the coupon program is really important to a lot of people in the community, and it's definitely a growing need. So thank you for supporting that. Yeah, I was just wondering about the location. If we talked about other areas in the village and what was the biggest sort of deterrent from Village Park or possibly another street downtown, not the main street, but a side street. Is there, can
So-
you fill us in on some of the discussion that might have?
Yeah, sure. So Village Park, we felt was a little bit too far out of town. So if we're looking at accessibility right now, a lot of our coupon participants typically walk to the market, or if they have a scooter or wheelchair, are taking it to the market. So if we felt that if we did go farther out, we're less seen. We're not kind of in the downtown area, and for people that rely on the coupon program or just in general rely on the market for food, accessibility might be an issue to get out that far. So that was one of the reasons that we decided that that might not be the best option for us. We looked at other locations, and there is potential for side streets. One of the things, like with anything, change is hard. When we move, it's hard for people to find us. So if we start in kind of the area that we are and kind of branch out from there, then it's easier to make the change because we're slowly kind of moving. Maybe we just move on to the side street right by where we are right now. But if we kind of slowly start the change, it kind of eases people into that. There are issues with, we looked into different parking lots and stuff about slopes and gravel and trying to get vendors in level ground and customers being able to get up there, accessibility and parking. So there was advantages and disadvantages to a lot of places, but in the end we thought if we, at least for now, for this year, if we stay close to where we are, it might be the most advantageous for what we want to do and for the downtown core.
Okay. Did we talk about the bus route and the bus stop being right across from the village square where it would be closed?
No.
Okay.
Kalen's got his hand up. He'd come.
And I can give you an update sort of right now on where we are with looking at different locations. And so, right now, working with Twyla to get an understanding of what her capacity, the market's capacity is going to be, because that's going to be dependent on the type of site we put together. And so I've presented to her when she gives me, the numbers of the types of vendors. We'll look at different types of options of closures. Is it all of Dunsmuir in front of the main street, which of course, having talked about the street closure policy, takes into accounts of having to redirect buses and stuff like that. So, or is it just 3rd Street, on the sides of Dunsmuir, and we're closing on the other side of the Moose between Seeds, with permission from those businesses, of course. And so getting a good understanding where she's at for capacity, and then giving her some options around the types of closures. It's a weekly occurrence. We want something that's really well designed, that's easy for them to set up and break down, that's easy for our community to get used to, as she's alluding to, of understanding when there's closures and where there's closures. So we'll continue to bring more of that stuff forward.
Great, thank you.
And the other part of it is it's February right now. The market doesn't start till June, so we wanted to start this process early so that we can work out all the kinks and make sure we talk to everyone and figure out what is the best option going forward. And if one doesn't work, then we have something ready to go in case that doesn't work. So we have different ways of looking at it.
That's great. I appreciate you giving us some time to work that out through staff and make sure we're looking at all those different angles.
Okay. Well, Twyla, it was really good to read all the information that you provided in there. Learned a lot from your report, and I thank you for that. A very good report. It's always been a pleasure. It's a focus on Sundays to be down at the farmers market because you get to see people you haven't seen since the week before.
Yep.
And it's quite a community hub now, and I look forward to it growing still more. And so thank you very much for all the work that you've done and working with staff to make that successful.
Well, thank you very much. We are looking forward to 2022. I think it's going to be our best year yet. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Twyla.
No unfinished business correspondence. The council received the correspondence from Mike Tunnell, Active Travel Project Lead, Cumberland Community School Parents Association.
Move receipt.
Second.
All in favor? Carried. I'd just like to explain this. Mike and I had a meeting to discussion about the next steps because the active transportation has been a very forward-thinking project, and they're very concerned about the safety of the school children on the property. And so to bring the school and the village to work together on a plan on trying to fix some of the issues that are occurring, that are making it unsafe. So this is the beginning of the process, and they will get together and bring forward a plan and a costing of what that plan will cost. So they're very aware of what the group would like to see happen, and the group has forwarded that information both to the village and to the school board, but we need an official way to do that. So this is what this is about. Any questions from anybody? Yes, Councillor Brown?
Thank you so much for bringing this forward. I know that the Active Travel Group with the PAC did develop a plan for that, for the piece of Ulverston from the school to First Street, as it gets very congested, and hopefully we can work with that plan and the issues on First Street to address some of that congestion and make it a safer route. But I also wanted to make sure that we are incorporating that information into our active travel report that we just completed. I'm seeing nodding, so that's
Yes.
great. Yeah, I just think that's a really, obviously, a tricky area. And I also wonder about whether we should be looking into if that First Street should be, I know it's a provincial designation, a school zone, but it may be possible that the municipality could decide that First Street should also be a school zone, since it is the street that directly abuts the property, even though there's an old street there. So technically it's not, but it is. So I'd like us to look into that as well to see if that might help the situation.
They'll be looking at all the different options and all the different thoughts that have gone into it. That sometimes what they need to start out is with a plan and how much it's going to cost, and put that into the plan, because everything cannot be done the first year. And I think that even the beginning of the plan will help a great deal with the access up there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm sure that will be brought to the attention if it's not done from this meeting. So someone like to make the motion, or does anybody else have any questions?
I can move it. That council directs staff to engage with SD 71 relating to school active travel and the intersection of First Street and Ulverston Avenue.
All in favor? Carried. Reports that council received the development variance permit 2473 Kentmere Avenue report.
Move a seat.
Second?
All in favor? Carried.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this evening, I'm presenting the development variance permit application for 2473 Kentmere Avenue. So the property owner currently has an active building permit for a single-family dwelling with a secondary suite at 2473 Kentmere. The applicant is requesting to increase the gross floor area of the secondary suite from 90 meters squared to 99 meters squared to accommodate a larger second bedroom. The current GFA percentage of the secondary suite is 25.5. With the requested variance, the percentage would be 29.8, which is still below our required 40%. Staff do consider this variance to be minor and recommend approval.
Councillor Kettler?
So the building is built already or not?
They just got their building permit.
Okay.
So right now the plan was for that just to be like a downstairs bonus room that would be accessed by the upstairs tenants or the house owner. But the plan would be to change the layout a little bit. That room would then be connected to the suite and be a second bedroom.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else?
I'll move the council approve the development variance permit to increase the permitted gross floor area of a secondary suite from 90 meters square to a maximum of 99 meters square on the property described as Lot 10, DL 24, Plan EPP 90590, 2473 Kentmere Avenue.
Second.
All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Next, that council received the COVID-19 Restart Funding Report.
Move receipt.
Second.
All in favor? Carried.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council. What you have in front of you is the next iteration. I think it's our fifth now of our restart report, which tracks our restart funding and our spends on opportunities and projects that will improve our organization. Today we have 7 items. I won't go into them individually, but you see the 7 items there up for allocation request. At the end of all this, the total amount of all these 7 expenditures would be $135,400. What that means ultimately, if you were to allocate the full funding, that there would be $107,805 remaining in the restart fund, depending on how you want to allocate the funds. But happy to answer any questions related.
Councillor Sullivan.
No, I have no questions. I mean, pretty happy about improving our communication skills with the general public. So looking forward to it.
Councillor Sproul.
And chairs.
Oh.
Sorry, it's been a while. And this one's broken. Okay, sorry.
No, it seems like an even allocation of various things for various departments. It looks to me, though, that staff has worked out a way to extend the use of the money, you know, by putting something into all the areas of the office. And I'm curious about the summer weekend waste collection. Is that from the street garbage cans? Just because we end up with having a lot of people visiting.
Yes, they're quite full usually by Sunday, or Saturdays and Sunday
yes.
evenings.
We did the same thing last year, Councillor, and provided more restart funding for that service, recognizing how much busier it is downtown in the weekends.
Okay, anyway, it's great.
Councillor
Sorry, I did have one question that I had forgotten. So this GPS unit, what happens with that? It's portable? So
It's
is this
portable, and what allows is the operations team to drive around and scan and locate things, all our assets, from fire hydrants to trees. And what that does is allows them to add that to computer programs, modeling, tracking, information scanning, that type of stuff.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Councillor Kettler.
Yeah, so where are we at with the restart grants that we're going to be giving out?
So the Restart Grant application today is the deadline for applications, and so we didn't put a time on it, so we'll wait till midnight to see if we get more, and they'll be tomorrow. Council allocated earlier this year $40,000 towards that program, so it's already got funding in it. And then what we'll do in the next meeting is that we'll bring back those restart applications for your consideration, and then you can make decisions around the funding and so forth.
Okay, did you receive an application from the Comox Valley Substance Use Strategy Committee?
I am
Today.
unaware yet of receiving them,
Okay.
but I haven't seen them all because they've been
Okay.
coming into info@cumberland.ca. So if they came in this afternoon, I think we had 1 this afternoon, and then when Kate notified me this afternoon, we did 5 or 6. So I haven't been in recently to see which ones are there.
Okay, because we were on a meeting with them earlier today, and they said that they would submit it today, so just maybe check the junk mail if you hadn't.
Yes,
hadn't seen
we
it.
will do, tomorrow morning we'll do a full review, making sure that we check all our junk mails, and anything that was received before 11:59 will make its way in.
Okay, great. And yeah, the 7 items that you have here all seem, necessary for operation. So I'm happy to pass that. Thanks.
Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I really, it struck me how this grant would be amazing to have every year.
Yeah.
And also just the opportunity it's given us to upgrade all of the systems that make the village function so much smoother and provide better service within and outside of COVID. So just I'm so glad we have this money. And I'm glad there's 100,000 left because I think we might need it for the grant program.
Sorry, one more. Looking back at my notes. So 45,000 for the new website. It's a lot of dough for a website, so maybe we could get some sort of breakdown of, like, does that mean someone is going to be, we'll have like a Facebook presence, or somebody is going to be responsible?
Yeah, and so, I mean, there's a couple of avenues we can go with our website. One thing we've recognized with our website is probably not as accessible as we want it to be, is how it shares information. And this estimate is kind of right in the middle. You know, a new website could run $60,000 to $70,000, depending on what you want. We have a very good system and we have a very good website, so it might just might be upgrades. Some of the data we've collected around understanding what we need for websites also tells me that our recreation site gets 85% of our traffic to our website is looking for recreation information. So this is kind of a middle park, so we understanding of opportunities to upgrade and expand. But we certainly don't want to go to that full amount. So this is something that gives us the means to upgrade our website and make the fixes that we want to do. And again, these are estimates. A lot of these are based off of quotes when we have them, but they're not. Sometimes they're just phone calls to get estimates in other organizations to see what they've spent on something similar in the last little while. So one of the things that we haven't done with the Restart granting yet is to come back with actuals. So all the things that you've allocated over the past that are complete, we can come back with actuals and give you an actual monetary, proper financing of everything. And so that will be coming down the road as well to see, because many of these projects come slightly under budget or under budget.
Thanks. I had a follow-up to the website. Thank you. The website. Is that to integrate the business portal that?
Yeah, and in our recreation side and our mountain biking, you know, different ways of menus for different people to access information. We're very search-based right now, and it works great if you're like us and you use that website all the time and you know how it works. But if you're new, you don't know the keywords to look for, it can create some sort of challenges. So we want it to be much more accessible, and we want to be able to direct people where they need to go easier. And then, as Councillor Sullivan was saying, using it as a tool for outward information more.
Yeah, I feel like after all these upgrades, we'd be really remiss if we didn't have a real better handle on that output. And so that just
That
regular Facebook isn't just a cesspool of what everybody else thinks and everybody's opinions about what is or is not happening, when often that is not what's happening within the council and within the village as it works itself. So it'd be a lot nicer to have a really straightforward, more fulsome system for everybody to get that information from us. Awesome. Thanks.
I'd like to say it's a pleasure to see this report, because these are items that we've needed for a long time, and it's obvious that staff put a lot of thought into these items that will make a tremendous difference, not only to staff but to council also, in updating our facilities to the quality they should be. So yes, it's wonderful to have this money, and I think so far we've spent it really well. And that is a credit to everybody sitting here. So what is your pleasure, council?
I'll move. Pardon me. I will move that council allocates COVID-19 restart funding towards the following projects: $45,000 for village website upgrades, $2,430 for new chairs for council chamber, $30,250 for a new phone system, $38,720 for upgrades to the information technology security system, $2,500 for the summer weekend waste collection service, $8,500 for the installation of operations and meeting room screens and conference equipment, $8,000 for a GPS unit for collecting operational data.
Second. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. That council receive the community priority issues for 2022 RCMP Annual Performance Plan Report.
Have a seat.
Second.
All in favor? Carried.
Thank you, Council. You'll recall that each year the RCMP asks Council for its input to community priorities for the Comox Valley Detachment Annual Performance Plan. Attached to the report, you'll see last year's priorities that Council identified, which were crime reduction, community relations, watercraft safety on the lake, road and traffic safety, and attendance at Cumberland Lake Park Campground. RCMP is looking for this year's community priorities, and staff is also recommending that council request the RCMP to attend an upcoming committee of the whole meeting to present its annual service report.
Is there anybody here to answer any questions from the RCMP? No? One of the questions that I have is that we get these, like there's been decreases almost in every instance, there's decreases. And there's less offenses, but I'd like to know how many hours the RCMP are actually spending in our community. Because that never comes forward as to the amount of time they're spending here.
I saw them behind the post office again on Thursday without vehicles. 3 of them lined up against the wall looking for offenses. Yeah. But I had not seen them walking through the community talking to anybody.
Well, I know they were here one day with their bikes
Yeah.
walking through, so yeah. it'll
Feels
be-
like we have the same list that we want.
Yeah.
Yes, it is the same. Does anybody want to change that list?
Just maybe emphasis on the community policing. You know, the fact that we've created a space for them within the old fire hall, that they could come and have a computer and do their work and just be in the presence of the community, I think is important, and hopefully they agree and feel that that's a good relationship building move. And yeah, I think it'd be helpful, as you said, Mayor Baird, that we know sort of what level of service that we have right now. We do pay into policing somewhere in the range of $300,000 a year. And so what level of service are we getting for that? And then we'll, you know, as we're having these discussions about future contracts, once we reach a population of 5,000, we'll have a better idea of what we need for policing at that level.
Councillor Brown?
Yeah, I agree with the emphasis on community policing, and also that they come to a meeting so we can talk to them about what exactly we mean by community policing, because I feel like there might be a bit of a gap there. I think what we're looking for is actually the officers who do come to town to be creating relationships. So maybe even going so far as to set an appointment with a nonprofit group in the village and find out what's going on for them, or to meet with, go up to the school and talk to the kids, or to walk the main street, things like that, have conversations with people and find out what their concerns are. Other than that, I think the campground, I think it was really helpful last year to have them out at the campground a few times. And yeah, the same priorities, but just with that emphasis.
At one point, I did ask Mr. Curvers if they would post hours that they were going to be in there so that community can come and see them also. And he said he would give some thought to that. Okay, so what is your pleasure?
Okay, so I'll move that council provide, well, we already, do we have to still do that?
You're going to approve the 5 items that he's
Yes.
already put in?
Yes, so that council request that the same 5 items with a particular focus on community policing and community relations be approved for 2022. And that council requests that the RCMP attend an upcoming committee of the whole meeting to present its annual service report.
And you have to give me permission to sign it.
And that the mayor has permission to sign the performance plan and acknowledgement of the consultation.
Second.
A second. All in favor? Carried.
Mayor Baird,
Yes.
could I ask just for clarification on the request for the service in the community? Was there anything in particular that you were looking for, like traffic community hours, or any particular subjects that you were looking for, or just more
No,
general?
I would like to know how often they're here
Yeah.
in the community.
Overall hours. within the
Overall
community.
hours, are they here for
Very curious to know
4
that.
hours once a week? Are they here more than that? I would like to know what it is.
In response to files and service calls,
Yes.
and addition to patrols and that. sort of
Yes.
thing. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Bylaws, that council receive the report rezoning 3699 Bevan Road, third reading and adoption of bylaw 1165.
Move receipt.
Second.
All in favor? Carried. Welcome.
Yes. So nice to meet in person. Yeah, so this report is in follow-up to the February 14th report and bringing forward a bylaw for third reading and adoption. And the purpose of the bylaw is to rezone the northern portion of the Comox Valley Waste Management Center to from industrial greenways, reserve, and I-2 heavy industrial to I-4 refuse industrial. So as I discussed at the previous meeting, the rezoning will permit the leachate pond on the property, but not a landfill cell use, and that's in keeping with what the CVRD is interested for that property. At the February 14th meeting, we also reviewed the interest by Cumberland, which is supported by the CVRD, in extending a trail corridor that would run all the way along Bevan Road for recreational cycling and commuting to the Bevan industrial lands. So the CVRD staff is going to present a report to the Comox Strathcona Waste Management Advisory Committee. It's in queue for the agenda for March 3rd, and then for the board meeting, would then go to the board meeting on March 17th. So that would be for an approval in principle to work together and support on the statutory right of way along the property, the land, which is now integrated with the larger property, the land to be rezoned, and then also explore extending it all the way along the landfill property. So we only received one comment in response to a referral, and that was by Island Health. Island Health were in support of the rezoning. They didn't feel it would contribute to any immediate risk to the public health. They did mention possible future expansion in consideration of that. Those risks would have to be mitigated in the future. So the Comox Valley Regional District staff, in response to that comment, informed me that, and had previous informed me of that actually, that the CVID does monitor the groundwater on an annual basis and reports on that, and that the groundwater flow actually is in the other direction, not towards Comox Lake, but also they have strict monitoring for water quality underneath the landfill. Yeah, but
Luckily, people aren't drinking from Morrison Creek. It's still very important. Yes.
yeah, so all the new landfills are the landfill cells and the leachate ponds are properly engineered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any
Yeah,
questions?
it is all captured, and obviously this, having the extra leachate pond would help with the capacity of capturing more rainwater. But I do think that we should forward the Island Health letter to the Comox Strathcona Waste Management Board. Was that part of the plan anyway, or?
We don't generally forward referrals back to the applicant or to the board.
Like the information that we would get from the health authority should probably go back to those people making
The decisions.
about future additional cells at that site.
I think that would be quite the process to go through. I mean, they have a capital plan now to expand southward. Any further expansion would go through another bigger process, certainly. But so yeah, I talked to the staff about it, and they remind me that they are doing annual monitoring and of groundwater quality. And
If you
yeah.
want to make an emotion,
Yeah.
we send that through to the CVRD, please do.
Okay. Oh, right now?
Yes.
Okay.
So before you make the motion, though, I didn't get a chance to comment. So I did appreciate I do appreciate the climate change implications portion of the report. Thank you so much. And that's where it talks about the potential other uses of that site being for deconstruction or other diversion, potentially other diversion operations on page 58, sorry. So hopefully that's the future of the rest of that site.
By the way, Councillor Brown, I wasn't trying to not get you to, I thought we could do hers because it wouldn't be added to this one.
Oh, it's a separate motion? You want to do
Yes.
a separate motion? Oh, okay.
That's why I was asking her to do it
Okay.
now. Sorry about that, I should have
That's okay.
said something. Okay?
Yeah, there's still the other recommendations there.
Yes.
So yeah, in a separate motion, I'll just move that council refer the or send the Island Health letter that we received regarding the leachate pond application to the Comox Valley, Comox Strathcona Waste Management Board.
Second.
All in favor? Carried. Any
Okay.
other questions?
No.
Okay, what is your pleasure?
So I'll move that council give third reading to the zoning amendment bylaw number 1165, 2022, and that council adopt zoning amendment bylaw number 1165, 2022.
Seconder? All in favor? Carried. Next, 7.2, council remuneration bylaw.
You just
Move
move it?
receipt.
Second.
All in favor? Carried. No new business, notice motions and announcements, none.
I'd like to make that motion.
Oh, sorry.
We're working towards that one for a minute, so let's just slow down for a second. I would like to move the council adopt the council remuneration bylaw 1166, 2022.
Seconder.
Second.
All in favor? Sorry about that, I was in a hurry. Next, question period. Please send your questions by email to info@cumberland.ca using subject line question period. Note, please limit to questions only. Comments will not be read. Nothing yet.
Any background music?
You usually have something to say or
This is
something to
when
talk
the
about.
warm-up person comes back
Yeah.
and they're like, fill the gap between in camera. That was Cumberland Council, everybody. How you feeling?
Once again, if you do send an email in and we don't answer it tonight, it will be answered tomorrow. So we can do to the closed portion, please?
I'll move the council close the meeting to the public pursuant to section 90 of the community charter to consider bullets E, F, and I.
Very good.
Second.
Just gonna do that.
All in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you.